Big news from the Volkswagen Arteon. There is the new body form, the Arteon Shooting Brake, as we have right here. There is the new Arteon R, both for the shooting brake and the existing fastback. Here in this case you can see it's the R shooting brake right here. There's a general facelift for the existing Arteon fastback, which is now called GT or Gran Turismo. And there is also the new e-hybrid. And every detail of that here on Autogefuehl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. Tom is in front of the camera, Joan is behind the camera. Exterior, both body versions, different engines, different stylings, different colors. Interior, and what can we expect from driving? And now join us in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. New upgraded Arteon comes either with the base trim, just called Arteon, then above that is Elegance or R-Line, so more sophisticated trim. That's also where you get the e-hybrid, and then the top of the line model is here, the true R model, and it comes with a stronger lower bumper, also with more black accentuations. New is also that you have the LED strip right here that also has a middle part, so it seems to be that it goes all over the vehicle. And the lapis blue color, exclusive to the R model, one of three colors we have here for you today. Headlamps start from LED directly, but you cannot go for matrix LED. That is not possible here yet. But then again, you have the new LED daytime running light, that's both coming for the Gran Turismo and here also for the new shooting brake. Interesting also with the Arteon that there's this additional lip right here that makes it appear a little bit longer in the hood, so a very sporty and bold styling in the front, especially with the R model. A lot of variation here for you today. This is also the new shooting brake, but in King's Red, so different color. And this is here the R line, so without the strongest engine, but already with the sporty styling. You can see it here, for example, in this lower bumper and also with the black accentuations. And this one here also, you can see it in the front number plate as well. This is also the e-hybrid. So there's one catch to it. It does not offer the new light image right here, so you don't have a middle LED stripe, because right here you have the charging port, and then they could not actually integrate this light strip all over the vehicle. And this is how the so far Arteon looks like now with this facelifted version, now called Arteon Gran Turismo or GT if you want to stay a little bit shorter. This one also being the Elegance trim. You can see it here with more chrome contrast, so less dark look, more chrome look, and also different color. This one here is called Eisvogel in Germany. That would be Kingfisher, or well, here we call it maybe Thomas Blue, because I like strong blue tones, you know, when you have subscribed to Autogefuehl. So very interesting how the new styling gives an even bolder stance on the road. Of course, it works even better when you have the new LED light strip in the middle, which is standard for R-Line and the Elegance, and also for the True R. Unless, again, you have the hybrid, because this one, again, is an e-hybrid version. Soon talking about the engines. Then again, you don't have the additional light strip in the middle. But definitely a very interesting new front and also interesting new colors. 4.86 m, 15'9" or 191 inches is the length of the Arteon, 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer in wheelbase than the Passat. That is also affecting the rear legroom. Usually you would start base with 17-inch wheels, then Elegance and R-Line come with 18-inch wheels, and here the true R model, the sportiest one, comes with 20-inch wheels. You can see them also right here, also with a separate R logo, also bigger brake discs and the blue calipers. Again, the lapis blue color, contrasts in chrome with the side mirrors, and another R logo right there, and this new R logo styling. And then you can see here the shooting brake version has the difference right here. So it's the same length, but it has also a strong shoulder form, although it has this estate look. So this shooting brake concept, always something that is moving a little bit between worlds. Of course, you can get both R also for shooting brake and also for the Gran Turismo. So we'll see later how it affects the interior when you choose this or the other version. Definitely a very impressive styling. And talking about the suspensions, usually you would start with the base suspension option. You can get the DCC, dynamic chassis control, adaptive suspension. And here the R comes automatically, always with the DCC, with the sportier minus 50mm setup. And a 3/4 rear perspective, which is also a very beautiful perspective design-wise. And you can see here that designers really had a lot of effort to stretch the car and to make it look agile, although we have this lengthened roofline. I would like to hear from you guys. Do you find the shooting brake more beautiful than the GT? Or do you find the more classic approach a little bit better? And now the fastback, or now called the Gran Turismo or GT, you can see here the classic roof shape, which is of course in a way more elegant, but you can see the strong shoulders. This is actually quite similar both in this and also in the shooting brake. This one being the elegance trim, you can also see it with the lettering right there. Some more bright styling, also with the chrome strap in the lower area. And with optional 19-inch wheels. Remember, 18-inch would be standard for elegance, 19-inch optional. Here also in the bright styling, so you can really choose if you rather want a more elegant, brighter styling or a sportier, dark styling, for example. And this is also something they really try to focus with this vehicle, that they offer a little bit more variation. This is not supposed to be the most practical Volkswagen, but a more emotional one. They don't sell too much from these. It is also some kind of an image project. And of course, you pay more than, for example, for a Passat. And Volkswagen also wants to attack other premium segments. For example, really be a competitor also to Audi, BMW and Mercedes with this one. And of course, also with the new shooting brake. And also the rear here first with the most impressive version, the Arteon R. The shooting brake here has, of course, a more upright rear, so it's not falling that far. And that is also, again, one of the design clues, because with the top wing and then this additional design element and also the line here, you have basically 3 steps, and that makes the car appear more upright and, let's say, a little bit more agile in the rear. Interesting. Also very horizontally drawn tail lamps right here, special LED structure. It will also appear more three-dimensional when you hit the braking lights, for example, and the R logo. And being the R, you can see the contrasting black lower bumper. And these ones here are real exhaust pipes, really massive. And when you look on the inside, you can see this is indeed here in the R version, the real deal. One more straight look at the rear here of the R line in the red color, and also being the E-hybrid here. And this is definitely a case for the Autogefuehl fake exhaust police. So we have 2 clear fake exhausts left and right. The R line has a stronger fake exhaust. It will be different in the elegance. We'll soon take a comparing look. And the rear of the Gran Turismo. Here, what I said here, of course, this falling window then. This is the main difference. But you can see that the upright elements here have been kept, from the Gran Turismo and then transported onto the shooting brake. Here also the E-hybrid again, and this is the elegance trim, so you have more chrome contrast in the lower part and a different fake exhaust styling. So yeah, I think this is a case for the special unit of the fake exhaust police here today. Yeah. So we really have to take the R version, don't we? Engines, let's start with the strongest one. 2 gas struts, here left and right, and then there's no R engine cover, however, that was saved, but I can tell you the 2-liter TFSI turbo petrol engine, 4 cylinders and 320 horsepower. Yeah, that also tells us the horsepower figure of the new Golf R, definitely. So, good finding for today. Acceleration figure here for the Arteon will be about 5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. An interesting thing is also all-wheel drive as standard, front plus rear on demand. The more you power it out, the more torque will also be sent to the rear wheels. And then there's a new torque split between the rear axle, between the two wheels. So this torque vectoring function will have the effect that, for example, you can have more torque on the outside wheel, inside in the corner, and then it makes you move, out of the corner a little bit faster. And this is supposed to make the car more agile. So this is the new upgraded torque vectoring system here for the R models. This will also then follow for new R models. For example, we can also then expect it for the new Golf R. Very, very interesting. And I think this will really have a positive effect on the agility of driving, especially here the R version, which exclusively gets this new torque vectoring system. What do you think about this sporty upgrade? And as I said earlier, second big news is the hybrid, here so-called e-hybrid, 218 horsepower system output, 1.4 TSI, 6-speed DSG made to an electric motor, 13 kilowatt hour battery now, about 50 kilometers or 30 miles of pure electric range, maybe a little bit less than depending on the situation. And it's charging 3.6 kilowatt max AC. That's not too much. However, with the plug-in hybrid, it's more that you leave it overnight at home, for example, and then it's full again in the morning anyway. Well, here in the Gran Turismo, we also have the e-hybrid, but just to show you a third open hood. So about the normal combustion engines, there will be TDI and TFSI, so turbo diesel and turbo petrol engine, with different horsepower range, and you start with the 1.5 TSI in some markets. In Germany, the 1.5 TSI will not be available. In markets where it's available, it will have 150 horsepower. Then there's a 2-liter TFSI with 190 or 280 horsepower. The latter one also with all-wheel drive. And on the diesel side, 2-liter TDI, 150 or 200 horsepower. The 200 horsepower one also with all-wheel drive. Now to the interior, starting with the Arteon R, but first of all, door closing sound, which is still very solid, although this is here a frameless door model. Pretty interesting. Then, inside of the doors, you have a leatherette material here, so it's also soft touch here on top part, as well as here. And also the R comes with dark decor elements. Then rest of the interior, so they changed it actually quite a lot. There's a new steering wheel, also with the blue R mode button. You can see it immediately right there. So this one is directly the steering wheel that you can change to a sportier mode anytime when driving. This steering wheel is also sportier. You see it has perforated sides and also a flat bottom and a completely new style. And you see now the buttons on the steering wheel have diminished, so there was an illumination before, so they're actually illuminated here, and they also offer you some kind of feedback, but yeah, I'm not a fan of it. We've seen in the new E-Class facelift, for example, so I prefer the real buttons at the steering wheel actually. What's your take on that? And new capacitive function, that means the lane keeping assist, I just need to touch it. I don't have to steer it, let's say, just by touching or holding it. The lane keeping assist now knows that I'm actually at the steering wheel. This is very important. Zoom or to assistance systems. The seat here is standard for the R, just for the true R. This is the sport seat with the integrated head restraint, and sadly only available with animal skin, which is not fitting to the recent guidelines from VW to be more sustainable and more animal friendly. However, they are changing, have some internal work groups for that. The ID3 will have more animal-free materials, for example. They're also discussing it internally, but here for the Arteon R, not a good move. So, however, let's take a test seat, see how the comfort is actually getting inside. And you remember that the Arteon R sits a little bit lower, but you still get the impression of a mid-size sedan feeling, so to say, although we have the shooting brake here, and the seat gives you a little bit more side support, but it's still reasonably soft. And we'll also test the seating comfort with the other seat we have here today. But so far from the seat form, it actually gives me a good comfort impression at first hand. Steering wheel moved in a manual way right there, and the new steering wheel is actually quite cool. It looks quite fancy, also gives you a good grip. Yet again, yeah, these buttons here at the steering wheel, not really a fan of it, so you cannot really press them deep in there, but you still get a capacitive feedback when you have it on. So that's the thing. Now here again I have them illuminated, and then I also get the feedback, so to say. I'm not sure if you can maybe hear a little bit of that when I press it. And here again with the R mode button that I can get a sporty race mode at any time for overtaking and so on. And also steering wheel heating is a function that's of course very nice for winter days. As for the headroom, this is the same shooting brake and the Gran Turismo in the front. And with the 1.86 m or 6'1", there's still plenty of headroom left. There are also panoramic roofs available. However, more crucial will be the headroom in the rear. But let's first finish the interior in the front. First look at the R interior. We see sporty decor elements, for example. And I also want to tell you something more about the screen schematics. On the left side, 11.7-inch digital instruments, always now. And here on the right side, it starts here with this one, with the 8-inch screen. And this one still has knobs here for the volume and also for zooming in and out the map. And I think that's more practical, especially while driving. I would actually stick with the entry 8-inch screen. It offers you all other functionality as well. Soon I'll show you the 9-inch screen. That was just, to start with. What about the rear? Here, first of all, soft touch at the inside of the doors, also at the rear. That's good. And then let's get inside, and there's plenty of legroom left. Wow, this is a great result indeed. So awesome space, and that's actually more than in some of the bigger premium competitors, for example. Here you have some bags at the back part of the seat, and this is the one without panoramic roof, and this leaves also a lot of headroom here in the rear. This is also the big advantage here of the shooting brake. Even if I lean myself backward, there's still enough headroom left, especially if there's no panoramic roof. And if you compare now shooting brake to the Gran Turismo, there's 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches more headroom here in the shooting brake. That's where you really gain. I now switch to the R line. Same seat, however, optional then. And this is done with the panoramic roof. And this gets quite close then headroom-wise. So you have to bear in mind, it still works for my size, no problem. But then again, when you have this panoramic roof, you lose some headroom. However, you get more light in the interior. And you can also open it. And it's always a lot of fun to drive. Of course, in summer then with the roof open. It's actually quite wide here, and also then still the shooting brake here, so it's also available here one for the shooting brake. Now the straight interior overview, this one here being the R line, and also the 9.2-inch screen, the bigger one, the optional one, R line, and in this case here also with a sporty decor element. Soon more details to each screen. First of all, in the lower area here, this one is the climate unit, which has capacitive style also, but big temperature display, and I still prefer manual knobs, but for a slider, this one is actually quite reasonable. So it works quite fast and easy. Same with the vent strength. Though we have criticized systems like this in the new Golf or the Leon and so on, and Volkswagen is also thinking internally about it now, because of the negative customer feedback. But here in the Arteon, I think this is one of the best sliders here we've seen so far, at least. Then there's this very small cubby hole for inductive charging of your smartphone. The iPhone X, by the way, it does fit in there, but barely. Then GTE mode, although it's not called GTE, this is then, so to say, the electric boost mode. You can also pick here in the e-hybrid. Other than that, driving modes, you can select right here. Or then the E mode, so this is specific to the hybrid. We've seen it earlier in the true R model where you click the R button at the steering wheel. So different models, different modes. Then we have cup holders, adaptive here. Then you can also see the normal car key, nothing very special. You can also close the whole stuff right here. And then there's this leatherette cover armrest. When you open it, you have 2 USB-C devices now, or chargers, and you also charge your phone there, for example. 11.7 digital instruments. You can see you can zoom in and out with the thumb on the steering wheel then. So the screen the GPS map goes all over the screen, or a split screen like this. You can change the views or have them here. So you're quite flexible with these digital instruments. That's the coolest thing about it. Now it leads to the screen. You see it's not too different from the 8-inch screen, so that wouldn't be that crucial. Yeah, we don't have the knobs here, and I think that's actually a bad thing. So the top trim, not always, or the top infotainment trim, not always the best one. However, it's quite smooth from the map here. And well, the voice input is not very natural. You have to do certain steps then. What is more relevant is, of course, sure, the Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto. But before that, just, for the vehicle settings right here, nice visualization here also then for the shooting brake. And there are special e-gauges when you take a look at the hybrid model, for example, for your maximum range. And you can also pick how the digital cockpit, for example, is being displayed and so on. So, but now the Apple CarPlay integration works very well. Apple CarPlay also works wirelessly. That is possible. However, I usually stick with the cable. Usually that's then, a more stable connection. But it depends also from car to car. Now, shooting brake headroom with panoramic roof. You can see here for the rear passenger, it raises to the end again, and then I can still sit here very comfortably. It's no problem. Just when I would lean forward like this, but probably you don't do that while driving. So that's actually perfectly fine then. Then other features, you have here the cup holders, but not adaptive. This is also a ski hatch. You can reach through the trunk then. And in the higher trim, so optional rear climate unit here also with seat heating for the rear outboard seats. And below that, also a real power plug. With 580 liters to 1,630 liters, the shooting brake here is 20 liters to 120 liters more capacity than the GT. Here flipping the logo, and then you open the hatch and then you have a little bit more space and height especially. Oh, this is a Arteon bag, just a sample bag right here, so it's a very practical trunk. There is a loading sill here because they decided they want to offer more height instead of an even loading sill. That depends on if you put a floor cover in there. In this case, they just want to offer more height. I personally prefer more an even loading sill. What about you? But then again, you have more height here. This cover here is actually quite practical. You can just press it right there. Rails left and right. I have already flipped the seats here for you that you can see, and we can also take some measurements because it's actually quite a long car. So key thing is that up to the seats that we are driving, you see here 1/3, 2/3 split, is actually a little bit more than 2 meters here in length, and that's of course pretty cool result overall. So, but the main advantage for the shooting brake is of course then, let's say, the height in the very, very rear. It's not that the GT is not that practical, but here, the height here to the cover, right there, this is a little bit more than 50 centimeters, and it's really almost continued here to the very rear. And that's then, the critical thing. So here then, right there, this would be an up till here where 52 centimeters is being guaranteed. And the width here, by the way, is about a meter. Here we go. That's about a meter in width. So actually quite well usable. Now comparing the Gran Turismo, first of all, as for seating, for both shooting brake and Gran Turismo, you get a base fabric seat. Optional, you can get the Ergo Comfort seat. We can also see here that will also feature it in the Elegance and the R-Line trim as standard. And it is also available with a fabric microfiber mix. Here, however, the optional animal skin surface, again, in a bright style. But again, fabric and also fabric microfiber mix is available here for the Arteon in both versions. In comparison here, Gran Turismo now with the headroom, when I lean backwards, it very, very closely fits. So then I can maybe put a hand over my head. But that's the thing then, you lose then. But still, even if you go for the Gran Turismo, still tall people can sit in the rear. And now the trunk of the Gran Turismo, here again flipping logo, and the difference really, the basic dimensions are also very cool in length and so on. It's really different that here in the rear, you're only at about 40 centimeters of height then. And then, so that's the main difference actually. So the height you lose there or gain then again with the shooting brake. Note that there is always a height difference in the trunk between Shooting Brake and the Gran Turismo. However, here in this special case, it's even a little bit bigger because the GT trunk here is from the e-hybrid, which is reducing the height a little bit more. As for assistance systems, the AEB, so the front assist, autonomous emergency brake, is standard, and then optionally you can get the travel assist. That is then combining the ACC, adaptive cruise control, now with a predictive function, also traffic sign recognition, together with the side assist so that you're kept in the lane, and this is now working in a more sophisticated way, also then with the capacitive steering wheel function, and even up to a speed of 210 kilometers an hour. And now to the conclusion for today with the new Volkswagen Arteon, this update and the new body form, the Arteon Shooting Brake, together with the hybrid and the other. Well, so many new things here with the Arteon, so I think it has been a very interesting and diverse episode. First of all, I think the shooting brake concept, it makes it a little bit more practical, especially for rear passengers and also for the loading concept. However, the Arteon was practical already. It was some kind of hybrid, in the practical sense, because you had the interesting form, but already had this very practical opening, so something between sedan and the shooting brake. This one then being a real shooting brake, you have then some kind of a design Passat estate. And indeed, they also changed the interior a lot. They wanted to make the positioning a little bit different there. They wanted to have a wider span between the Passat and the Arteon, and I think they really achieved that. So we do have these new microfiber seats as well. We did not have them on location today, sadly, but we can maybe show that to you at a later stage. But the interior has a very good impression quality-wise. Yeah, the temperature sliders, we can surely discuss about that. But I can tell you they are also being discussed internally at Volkswagen. So maybe this will not be the end of this discussion there. Driving-wise, the driving itself won't change that much. It will also not be that different both from Shooting Brake and from the GT. With the DCC in the R, it will be stiffer definitely, sportier, and especially with this new torque split system, the torque vectoring system, this will be something very different, and maybe then the car will feel smaller than it actually is. Really looking forward, especially to drive the R version right here. I think we can still expect a lot from this vehicle. You can ask yourself if it makes sense that they invest even more in this project, because it's not, let's say, not the most successful, not the most important one for the brand. Then again, brand image is also something very important. And I mean, it's a very beautiful looking car. And it is also something, where I say, thinking outside the box, they're doing something which is not really that necessary. But maybe, about buying the cars, it's not always about what is necessary, but also what's beautiful. In this case, it can also be a little bit more practical, although you still have the beautiful styling. So a very interesting vehicle. Especially important will also be the new plug-in hybrid version when you think about company fleet vehicles and so on, with tax reductions and so on, especially in Germany, a very important topic. So a lot of variation to talk about. I hope you join us in the discussion. Tell us what you think about the new Arteon, updates in general, shooting brake version, hybrid, R-Line. Which one would be your favorite? Tell us in the comments. See you next time.